When we first minted, I knew that we were going to be a very successful project one day.
Did you always like the eyeballs, the attention, the fame that came with?
I like to spend my time alone. A lot of times I'm pretty introverted. Because I know it's good for Azuki as a community, right? Then I'll do what it takes.
Anime.com as a hub for all things anime. You then have the ability to leverage that attention to further push the anthology series. Anytime there's a new episode, new drops, this attention can then be leveraged and arbitraged.
Using anime as a medium to create content, edits, right? All these things that really attract people's attention. Azuki Elementals trailer that we did for the Elementals collection last year. People are still posting that, and those always get millions of views every time it gets posted.
What's up with the domain? How did you get your hands on anime.com?
Saw that it was listed for $10 million on GoDaddy. My initial reaction was, $10 million, like that's insane. If you don't write your own history, history will be written for you.
So I have this quote for you, Zagabond, which is, it takes time for your inner world to catch up to the outer world. Identity lags reality by 1 to 2 years. And there's a lot of psychological fallout from a rapid change in status. If you've lost a ton of weight or become single after a long relationship or won a huge contract to play professional sports, you had amazing success that might resonate with you. But the person the world sees you as and the person you see yourself as have become very different. There's a canyon there. Your fears and doubts and inclinations have not changed much, and yet the individual that everyone sees and expects to turn up is the new ascended version of you. So for you, Zagabond, with Azuki, the rise of Azuki at the tail end of the previous bull market was spectacular. The community came out of nowhere. The success for some could be said to be overnight. For you, was there a lag between realizing that you became overnight one of the top, most successful, and most respected founders in the industry?
Great quote. First off, thank you for having me. And I love it, getting straight down to just kind of reflection, which I like to do quite often. So I think it's a great way to start, I think. I actually still have trouble fully recognizing where Azuki is at and where I'm personally at and the impact that we have as a community and the impact that I have as a leader myself. And that's actually something that my family and my friends like to remind me a lot is, you've arrived. Right? Like a lot of people look towards you for inspiration. They look towards you for advice. And so think about that impact that you have and how it impacts, just so many people around you. Because I don't really look at it that way. For me, I'm so focused on just building what I think is important. And I spend a lot of time with my team, of course. But to just remind myself that Web3 is still a pretty niche community. And within that, you have the NFT community. And within that, you have Azuki, right? So that's how I view it sometimes, that there's so much more room to grow. But at the same time, the IP that we've built is starting to reach millions of people on socials and YouTube and all that. And within this space, we have a lot of artists who come to me and say, Azuki's really changed my life. Now they do commission art for a living and they just love all the support from the community. It's taken me a while, I think, to really reconcile that in my head. I think sometimes, I just have to remind myself that we've come a long way and, but there's still so much room to grow.
Absolutely. So what was the point of realization?
So we launched Azuki, we minted in January of 2022, right? And then very quickly got a lot of traction. And it was so quick. Like when we first minted, I knew that we were going to be a very successful project one day. I just had so much confidence in the brand, in the vision, and in my team. But I didn't know it would happen so quickly, right? I think in Web3, when you add fuel to the fire with speculation and tokens, right, things can just get parabolic very quickly, which it did. and a lot of good things come out of it. But there's a lot of anxiety that comes out of it too, right? The expectations are just sky high. In this space, often we don't know how long it takes to build something meaningful, right? Or the community doesn't really recognize that. For us builders who've run businesses before, we know this stuff takes years, especially with IP and brand building, right? But so we mentioned January, and then when June came around was when we did our first big IRL event in New York, Into the Alley, right? And that was my first time going out there, attending the event and meeting our community face to face. And that was the first moment where I was like, wow, like people recognized me. Once they found out who I was, everyone wanted to, talk to me and kind of learn more about Azuki, where we were going. And I remember trying to leave the event, and it was just such a big crowd. I couldn't get to the car, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. And then I just remember after we finally got in the car, we just like huge sigh of like relief, and just like we just sat in quiet for like 30 seconds, like what just happened, So that was, I think, the first moment where I'm like, wow, this is real, So
there's a lot of founders that build for different reasons, and oftentimes fame is a byproduct, but it's also an asset that can be used and leveraged. For you, I know for the first 2 years of Azuki, you were a lot more the man behind the scenes, building, the big decision maker. Did you always like the eyeballs, the attention, the fame that came with the money and the success?
No. It's the reason why I decided to be pseudonymous to start, because I wanted the work to really show for itself. And I wanted people to really understand the vision of what we were building. That's why we had the Azuki Manifesto to start. And if you were to go back during that time, no one really had a vision statement for their brand or project. No one was even thinking about NFTs as a brand back then.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I wanted to focus all the energy around that. And I wanted Azuki to be more than just me. But very quickly I realized that people like to look towards the leader, right? So I understood that. So that's kind of, so once I accepted that, I kind of grew into that role, and then, just kind of went from there.
Had to become a necessity.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I think, so your question was around,
the fame.
Oh yeah. That, I think that part, because I know it's good for Azuki as a community, right? Then I'll do what it takes.
Absolutely.
To get that done. But if you ask the people, close to me, like I like to spend my time alone. A lot of times I'm pretty introverted. But I do like to, talk to the broader community about what we're building and why. Right. And that's really important, especially in this space. So there's a lot of, outspoken leaders. And I think one thing that's good about crypto is you don't have to be at every conference. You don't have to be there in person to really make an impact. A lot of the culture of crypto is we're just anon, PFPs on Twitter, and you can still make a huge impact that way, which I appreciate.
I would agree, but also having a face of the brand makes it more human, which becomes a competitive advantage.
Exactly.
Because people relate with people in this new age of the internet culture. There's a lot of people that would aspire to become a founder like yourself. What would you say is the hardest thing about leading such a big brand in Web3? Would you recommend? How many stars would you give it on TripAdvisor?
It really depends on who you are. I would say it's, So I think about this interview that Jensen Huang had, where he said, so obviously he's the CEO and founder of NVIDIA, and he's been doing this his whole, for decades, and he's a billionaire now, super successful. NVIDIA's, one of the most valuable companies in the world. And they asked him, if you were to go back, would you do this again? Very quickly, he said no.
Yes.
Like no, because there's so many hardships and challenges, and it's really tough, man. Just mentally, physically. It's and a lot of people don't see that behind the scenes. One day you feel like you're on top of the world, or just one morning you feel like you're on top of the world. In the afternoon, you might feel the complete opposite because there's a fire drill that comes up, there's something else you have to take care of. So TripAdvisor, I mean, it's a 5-star rating today, but tomorrow I might go and update my rating to a 1-star. But I think it really depends on who you are as a person. I think leaders, you know who you are, right? So if you're in the audience listening, I think you have a lot of you have a big audience of entrepreneurs and people that aspire to be founders. If you know that, you have it within yourself, there's no other role like being a founder, right? And there's nothing else that's as rewarding as it. But if your goal really is, I just want to do well financially, I always recommend people, you don't want to be the CEO. You want to be the number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the team, right? Because you can still have a lot of upside, but you're more behind the scenes. And trust me, like no one has more on their mind at night besides the CEO.
Of course.
So after.
If you don't lose sleep for your business, no one will.
Yeah, that means you just don't care enough, I think.
Absolutely.
So yeah, very, very rewarding. But I saw a picture of, Google Photos will be like, oh, here's a picture from, 3 years ago. And then I looked at it. I'm like, that was me? I look very different back then, So, but, it comes with the role. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Right. So. Just like we have the presidential pictures of president before
Obama. The gray hair. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Exactly.
What does your typical day-to-day look like?
So I'm based out of Los Angeles. That's where our headquarters are. Half the team is remote, right? So, but most of us are in North America. So it really depends. I mean, over the past month, I've been traveling quite a bit. I've been in Asia. So, the days look like a lot of meetings with partners, and then I have a few hours overlap with my team in the US. But typically in LA, get to work around 9 to 10. I like to not have meetings in the mornings, and then that's when I just kind of plan ahead and think a lot about strategy and
maker time.
Yes. Well, I like to reserve like a full day on Fridays or Thursday afternoons for maker time, which if you're not familiar, it's just no meetings, no distractions.
Just doing.
Exactly. Just focus and then just really, get things done. That's pretty sacred time for me. And that's where a lot of the planning happens. But typically, I like to schedule my one-on-ones on Mondays and Tuesdays. And that way my team is aligned with kind of where my head's at. I've been trying to have less one-on-ones recently, just because I want to have more free flow of information throughout the team. And so we use Slack as our primary form of communication. And so most of the combos happen there. And I've been trying to do more conversations and keeping the whole team updated on my thinking and giving feedback, all just transparently on Slack and seeing how that works. And then afternoons, just more meetings with the team. And then I'll typically wrap up around 6 to 7 p.m., go home, have dinner with the girlfriend, and then, get back online. And I feel like my brain sort of works differently in the morning versus the night in terms of my creativity. A lot of times, like late at night is when I have some amazing ideas and I want to be around a computer and or like a notebook to start mapping things out. So that's typically the day-to-day.
If there's one skill that you believe you need to develop to take Azuki and the ecosystem to the next level, what would that one skill be?
Yeah, I want to be more out there. I want to be more sharing our vision and showing how we're building this anime startup to the world, a bit more building in public, if you will. I think, if you've seen how Azuki has been built for the first 2 years, it's been a lot of we're building behind the scenes, and that we're going to do quality work, but you don't really know exactly what we're doing because we want to surprise and delight you, right? But I feel like where things are headed now, we're at a different phase in the project, right? I think the first phase was in building Azuki as a brand, as a premium anime brand that can really inspire people to join the community and co-create with us. And I think we've done a decent job of that. And that's how we've curated a strong creative community. This next step, though, is different. It's not just a brand anymore. We're building a whole suite of products around the anime industry to create a enhanced industry that is better for creators and for fans as well. So that involves a lot of communication. It involves showing how the sausage is made, so to say, And so we've been doing these like behind the scenes series. I mean, we call them behind the beans, and I want to do more of that. And I think my personal mission is really to bridge the East and the West, because I was born in China. Right. So, obviously Asian, but I grew up in America. And so I feel like anime is a art form, and it's not just a genre. It's a lifestyle. It's a medium. Right. And it's a perfect medium for me to really accomplish my life mission of connecting the East and the West, because more and more anime is starting to permeate throughout pop culture here in the US. Is no longer taboo. You're seeing celebrities and athletes and movie stars are all talking about their favorite animes, and so I think we're doing this at the right time. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to get better at.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing this. Talking about community, and then we'll dive into the ecosystem, including, of course, anime.com that was recently announced. Yeah. You talk about the rally cries of the community. Azuki, one thing as a marketer, as a community builder myself, that does very well, Azuki does very well, is creating that sense of community, that sense of identity that people use as their digital identity in the new age of the internet. For you, what would you say is the recipe of a strong community?
There's a lot of ways to identify the strength of a community, and it really comes down to what your goals are for the community. There's communities, we're all part of different communities in our day-to-day lives. Like I started picking up table tennis recently. And so I would say I'm part of that table tennis community in LA now. And we play a lot at the office. But the goal for me in joining that community is not to really contribute much to a bigger cause. It's really just, I want to have fun. I want to get some exercise in. Let's find and potentially meet some new friends, play some table tennis. For Azuki specifically, and a lot of NFT communities, I think the strength of the community involves what are community members contributing to the overall brand and ecosystem, that is not purely for financial gain, but it's really because they have shared values with the project. And so every project has different values, whether they're explicit about it or not. If you look at the different NFT projects, you can get a sense of what the values might be.
Of course.
Right. And so, for us, this concept of growing together is the whole reason why we named it Azuki, which is a red bean, right? We're all growing in a garden. And this concept is one of our shared values. And so supporting each other, co-creation, those are all things that we like to measure our strength of the community by, like how many people are actually building stuff, how many sub-communities are there, how many people are using the Azuki IP and building products and doing commission art and things off of it. So that's for us. And I think in the Web3 space, a lot of times the strength of the community is really just how many people are showing up to support each other on social media, right? On X. That's, I think, a really good indicator as well, because if they really believe in it, then they'll show up and support it. Now, there's a difference between short-term, I want to support this because I want this token to pump,
exactly,
right? Versus I really believe in this brand long-term, and this is where I think NFTs have a very big advantage compared to other categories of tokens, is because there is an IP involved, right? And there is a sense of like, I have a piece of ownership in this IP, and I want to see it succeed, and so I want to contribute. So that's kind of how I see community strength.
So would you say, if we were to narrow down the 80-20 principle, the 20% that yields 80% of the results is having that strong core values, that people that share the same core values can also find the community that they resonate with, and in your case, that being Azuki?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think being very clear about those values is really important because those are the type of community members that you're going to attract. And I see projects now where they've been around for a few years and the values might have been different when they first started. And the founder or the team might not even have recognized that they were attracting a certain type of people.
Interesting.
But now that they want to shift the values of the project, you need to go through a period where there's going to be pain and hardship, right? And I think this is an example of, I think what D-Gods had to, go through recently. And I think Frank did a good job of kind of navigating that process because like, look, guys, what we were doing, we want to go a different direction somewhat. And the whole let it go to zero, I love that because it's very extreme. It's not for everyone, but I think the community needs to hear something extreme to go through a period of change. Like change management is not easy for anyone, whether it's in your personal life or for a big company, right? There's a lot of books written about change management and same goes for a community. You have to, it's almost like there has to be a forest fire before you see a lot of regrowth, and that regrowth can be quite phenomenal and happens very fast.
Interesting. From a business model perspective, NFTs are a new type of product that can be sold on the marketplace. Historically, we had two genres of products sold. We had recurring products, so subscriptions, that's your Spotify membership. And then we had reoccurring, where you consumables. You go to the restaurant, you really like the experience. The restaurants don't make, the business model is not built on the first purchase. It's built on you becoming a lifetime customer.
Right.
Same thing with Coca-Cola, same thing with all the consumables. With NFTs, what's very interesting is it's introduced a new category, which is a one-time purchase that is not consumable. The NFT will forever live on the blockchain. However, customers expect a one-time purchase that leads to a lifetime of utility. And what a lot of founders end up with is they end up with a community, with a liability called the community.
Good way to put it, yeah.
And eventually, year one, the business, it makes sense. Year two, we got to keep providing value. Year three, how would you make sense that the NFT business model, how can you make sense of it as a sustainable business model?
Yeah. So back when NFTs were like PFPs 2021, right? 5% royalties. Everyone was like, oh, this is it. Just, we can just keep making royalties forever. But back then, if you really dug into the smart contract, you could see that the royalty is actually not enforceable on chain. And I think it's really just a race to the bottom in terms of exchanges because traders don't like friction, right? And so, of course, we saw that like X2Y2 might have been the first one to really be like, hey, you don't have to pay royalties here. Everyone's like, wait, what? And then Blur was like, well, we can incentivize a program around it. And then things just kind of, got kind of crazy. And what I realized is that's not a sustainable business model, right? You can't just depend on the trading volume of an asset, and the expectation from the holders are that I get a lifetime membership of exclusive rewards forever, and this is going to be the best, thing I've ever purchased in my life. It kind of reminds me of Mark Cuban. He said in an interview that his best investment ever was this is back when I think it was American or United or one of those airlines had a lifetime first class ticket pass type of thing, and he bought some for himself and his parents, and it still works now, but they canceled that program because they're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. But they get to enjoy it for life, which is great. But with NFTs, there needs to be a real sustainable business model on top of the NFTs. And what we found is what is great about NFTs and what is a special kind of superpower of NFTs? Well, it's in curating a really strong community that has their digital identity, right, sort of tied with the NFT. And if you meet someone and you guys both have an NFT in the same collection, immediately there's that connection, that bond, right? You can talk about the trace, you can talk about why you guys joined. And that's what we're looking for in this day and age where, more and more things are going digital, right? How can we have more things to bond over? How can we have that instant connection? NFTs are great for that. Now, and this is what we've been focused on for the past year, is how can we mobilize the NFT holder base to now accomplish something much bigger. And then for us, it's within the anime industry. And what we found in building Azuki as our own IP and in looking at challenges that the anime industry is facing today and what fans want, right? We've identified some opportunities, and this is where anime.com was born. And we want to take our Azuki community along with us for the journey. And there's a lot of amazing things that a community can do together that if we were to just start anime.com as a separate business, it would take us much longer and we would have a much lower chance of success than if we were to do this alongside the community. And if we're successful as a company, we want our community to be successful as well. And in Web 2, there really isn't the infrastructure to do that. Now in Web3, there is the infrastructure to do that, right? With tokens and with roll-up, chains, and we're partnered with Arbitrum on Anime Chain, and so all this can support a community to kind of be alongside this journey with us and kind of have upside in this thing that they help create.
Right. Talking about anime.com, I know we were talking about this before the videos were rolling, but that was a great story. What's up with the domain? How did you get your hands on anime.com?
Yeah, it's feels great to say, right? Anime.com. Like it's fantastic. We saw that it was listed for $10 million on GoDaddy. And my initial reaction was $10 million. Like, that's insane. But then when I really thought about it, it's like a good domain is very valuable, right? Not just for SEO, but for branding as well. And it was perfect for what we wanted to do, which is go deeper in just the anime vertical and create a whole suite of products for anime fans and creators. And so we reached out and we gave a fair offer. But we had expected, some negotiation and all that, and they thankfully, took the offer, and I think it was a great deal for both sides. And now it comes down to building something valuable for anime fans with the domain, which is a real challenge. But I think having that domain is a great first step because it shows that look, we're serious about this, right? Of course. And because if not, we would just get a $12 per year domain. But no, we're serious about this, and I think it can add serious value to the anime industry. And so, I think with a great domain comes great responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So we want to do anime fans right. We want to add value there. And so, that's what we can all expect.
What's the bigger play with anime.com? Because right now you have the Azuki ecosystem is starting to shape up with the Azukis, obviously the IP. Then we have the anime token, and then we have anime.com, and you can tell because each have their own unique accounts. What is the long-term, the big play with anime.com?
Yeah, so you might have noticed everything that we're doing is focused around anime as a medium, and our strategy is not to go broad and to build a L2 or L1 and try to capture as many dApps as possible across many different verticals. I think there's a lot better teams who are suited to do that. And it's great because there's a lot of great infrastructure being built today, right? So from a app developer perspective, there's a lot of great choices to choose from. For us and where we stand, I think every team should play to their strengths, right? And for the Azuki team, a lot of us came from big tech, so we have experience building products at scale, and we have a lot of anime fans on the team as well. We have people from the anime industry on the team now as well. We just hired our first producer based in Tokyo, and so it's like, how do we use this talent and actually create something that can have a flywheel effect? So that what we're building with Azuki as an IP. And what we're partnering with the Anime Coin Foundation on, with Anime Coin and Anime Chain, can really help grow this flywheel. And what we realized is the current anime fandom experience is very fragmented, right? Because if you're an anime fan, you watch anime on Crunchyroll or Netflix, and then if you like it, you might go discuss it on Reddit. And then if you want to leave a review for it, you go on my anime list.
Interesting.
And if you want to buy merch, you go on another site. You don't know if it's officially licensed merch or not. You have to wait many months for the merch to arrive. It's a very fragmented experience. So from a fan perspective, it was very clear to us that there exists an opportunity to unify that.
Interesting.
Right. And give fans what they want in one place. We're very excited about that opportunity. So right now, we haven't released any details about what the product is yet. We'll kind of roll it out in a phased approach. But what you can do now is sign up for the waitlist. And it's really geared towards onboarding. There's 600 million anime fans globally.
Absolutely.
Right, and still continuing to grow. And I think what we want to do is we want to help grow this industry even further. Anime in the East, especially in Japan, obviously, is... has completely kind of penetrated the market, right? There's anime fans everywhere. It's become a lifestyle now. But on the West, like in the US, for example, I think it's just starting to, get into pop culture.
Right.
People are starting to talk about anime. Netflix is focusing more on anime. Crunchyroll is something that Sony has, because they're owned by Sony, right? In the earnings report, they highlight Crunchyroll as one of their, really, really good areas of growth. So we want to help bring this culture more global. And I think a good way to do that is by having this ecosystem of first-party IP being Azuki and a community that can help solve the cold start problem on anime.com as a platform. And we also have the infrastructure being Anime Chain to help support fan attribution and all of the collectibles that are traded on there. There's certain elements and core components of the platform that will be on chain that will be supported with Anime Chain. So everything is synergistic, right? And so that's why I've been telling the community, like, we're not going wider. That's not our strategy. We're going deeper on just the anime category.
That's fascinating. As a marketer, you could have the best product in the world, but if you have no eyeballs, if you have no traffic that comes to it, it's as if it doesn't
especially true in
exist.
crypto, yeah.
Especially true in crypto. With Azuki, what's been happening in the last 12 months, very silently, is your brand in Web2 on TikTok, on YouTube. You've been garnering a very big following, most of which is outside of Web3. From a funnel perspective, with the current assets, which are the audiences you have on these platforms, is that going to be the main onboarding journey into the anime.com? Is that going to be the main way you're going to funnel these people into passionate about anime into the anime.com hub, let's call it?
Yes, that's a top of funnel distribution play, and we want this to be where people can encounter anime IPs for the first time. We of course will still grow the Azuki IP and the Azuki. So we have 3 distinct teams within the company now. We have Azuki Entertainment, which you can think of as it handles the IP, it handles the content and the production, and everything Azuki related, licensing, merchandising in the future, that's all handled by Azuki Entertainment. That will continue to grow across all socials, right? So we post, short form content now. We have the anthology series and longer form content in the works. So that's Azuki Entertainment. The second one is anime.com. And that's the platform play, right? And that's will be top of funnel. And then the last one is being a launch partner for Anime Coin, and so working on more of the Web3 side. So 3 distinct verticals for the business.
In today's attention economy, if you control the attention, you control the world. And by having anime.com as a hub for all things anime, you then have the ability to leverage that attention to further push the anthology series. Anytime there's a new episode, new drops, this attention can then be leveraged and arbitraged to push your brand forward.
Exactly.
Is that kind of the bigger play here?
Exactly. Yes. And I think using anime as a medium to create content, edits, right? All these things that really attract people's attention. Like our Azuki Elementals trailer that we did for the Elementals collection last year. And that was about a minute long. That people are still posting that. And those always get millions of views every time it gets posted because people just love it's just so aesthetically, pleasing. Right. So now imagine a platform where, people can get a lot of those types of content and discover new anime, which is a huge problem. If you're an anime fan, is what anime should I watch next? It's not really a good recommendation engine for it. So things like that, right? So to be the first touch point for people to connect with other anime fans and to discover new anime, I think we can actually grow this industry together because a lot of people still haven't really watched anime yet. Yeah,
absolutely. You talk a lot about the value wheel, which is in traditional Web2 model, most of the value in the network ends up getting accrued by the investors and the owners of the actual network. But with what you're building, the ecosystem, you want to give the value back to the creators, the producers, the fans.
Yep.
How would you see that in practice? What would that look like with the Azuki, the ecosystem? What would that look like? Because in theory, it sounds nice. It's a noble cause. Painting a picture on that might seem a bit complicated for the people watching.
Yeah, I think that's something that is beautiful about tokens, right? Because with the token, it's inherently a financial product, right? And what I learned from my first stint in cryptos back in 2017, I worked for a decentralized exchange protocol called 0x. And we were one of the first tokens to introduce this governance utility aspect. And because when you have an open protocol, decentralized protocol, governance is important. When there's more and more usage on the protocol over time, you have multiple stakeholders now who use this technology, and it's open source. And they have a vested interest to make sure the protocol is upgraded in a way that is beneficial to them. So that inherently makes the governance, aspect useful. Now, of course, as the industry has evolved, we go through different metas now, right? Where sometimes, governance tokens are bad, VC-backed coins are bad, this type of token is good, whatever. But my point is that the token can capture value in so many different ways. It's up to the team and community to really help inform and direct which way you want to go. And of course, us being launch partners with the Anime Coin Foundation, I think the Anime Coin is really the main vehicle for us to deliver a lot of this utility and give ownership over. We want this coin to really be a representation of the anime industry going forward, right? And there's many different angles that you can approach that. One, maybe on the production side, right, where you can actually potentially be a part of the production committee, right, for a new anime. Another is maybe the DAO can own and obtain IPs, and you, being a governance token holder, have a stake in the IPs and titles that are being held in this DAO. And another one is this token can be used on anime.com and other apps on Anime Chain for different types of utility, and you can get value out of that. So I think distribution of this token broadly to anime fans is important, and getting into the hands of creators that can then use this coin to build amazing products with is the other side of that equation. So all this to say that this is something we're working actively with the Anime Coin Foundation on, and I think it can be a very strong incentive to really grow the whole industry together.
And you can even incentivize contributors as well to the ecosystem. This is actually a story I was working on for a workshop I'm conducting. Did you know that Lego in 2003 were $800 million in debt? They were back then. Think about Lego as a plastic manufacturing company. They were just pumping out models, not listening to the community. And then a new CEO came in. And one of the first things he did is he saw that asset, that underground community that was passionate about Lego, that was contributing to the ecosystem. And he started listening to them. He started giving them a voice. and eventually even created a platform called Ideas by Lego, where contributors could actually come in and upload their ideas and their models. And if they were to get enough support and upvotes, these would actually go on to become manufactured. Mm-hmm. Do you know that in 2011, the best-selling model that came for Lego that year was a result of a combination that came from Minecraft and Lego. And it was proposed by an individual who was a member of the two communities, so a contributor.
Interesting. Yeah.
So with the anime coin, that could be a further layer of incentivization to get the creativity out of that wealth of knowledge, intellect that exists within the community.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great story and a great example of the power of creativity in the individual.
Absolutely.
And I think, so that happened, you said, in 2011.
11, yes.
And now we're almost a decade later, and the tooling and resources for individual creators have only gotten better, right? And now with AI, my thesis is that fans will become creators because the barrier to creation is only going to get lower and lower. And all you need really is a creative mind and a text prompt, and you can create some amazing things. And
Absolutely.
The companies and brands and IPs that really embrace that and incentivize it, think about the amazing universes that we can create together, right? So that's, I'm really looking forward to that.
Zagabond, what final words do you have for aspiring founders in the Web3 space?
If there's one thing for all founders, it's that you have to find your own voice. And in this day and age, you have to write your own story. And you have to be vocal, and you can't make everyone happy. You're never going to make anyone happy, but you have to have your truths and you have to speak them loudly. And there will be people that resonate with you, and those will be your core kind of following within your community. But the moment that you kind of shy away from speaking your truth, and I've learned this before in the past as well, right? Where I said, you know what, maybe I'll just lay low. I had a PR firm that was telling me, hey, don't say anything. No one wants to hear from you right now. And I'm like, are you sure about that? I think I kind of want to say my truth, right? No. And then if you don't write your own history will be written for you. And you don't want that.
Interesting.
So if you're a founder, have conviction, be out there and speak your truth. And I guarantee you people resonate with you, and then you can kind of grow from there.
That's beautiful. Zagabond, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, man.